Hi, my name is Greg Canty, and I'd like to welcome you to the Win Happy podcast. I love chatting to people from all walks of life about their lives and their careers, about the choices they make along the way to pursue their happiness, and what winning actually means to them. I hope you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Thanks for listening. On today's podcast, I chatted with Laurann O'Reilly, the nutritionist, who's on a quest to getting us all to live healthier lives. The founder of Nutrition by Laurann grew up on a family farm. She ate way too much hospital food due to an early battle with leukemia, and these early experiences led to a huge interest and curiosity in food and nutrition. Laurann has plenty of practical tips to live a healthier life, including advice for the fast approaching winter months. Let's hear from Laurann. Laurann O'Reilly, a huge welcome to the Win Happy podcast. How are you doing?
I'm very good, and thank you so much for having me today.
You're so welcome. And the reason I wanted you to come on to the podcast is I know you're Nutrition by Laurann, and I think when you talk about happiness and win happy, I think instinctively I pretty much know that if you're healthy, you're going to be a little bit happier. So I thought, okay, I need to get this woman on here to chat to me about all things diet and nutrition and all that kind of stuff.
I'm delighted to be here.
So one of the first things I ask everyone that comes onto the podcast is, who the hell are you and where did you come from?
So I'm Laurann O'Reilly. I run a nutrition consultancy called Nutrition by Laurann. And how it all began, I suppose, look, it's a long story, starting from scratch. So I am a farmer's daughter from Tipperary. So I grew up with a real appreciation for food and where it came from and the properties of food and that sort of thing. To add another string to that, I'm actually a childhood cancer survivor. So I had leukemia at the age of 5, fully recovered, as healthy as you can possibly be. But that gave me a real interest into health and how, I suppose, nutrition can affect your health. So I remember being in school. It was just before I chose my junior cert subjects, and I went to a career guidance teacher in school. I still meet her to this day and go, you're the reason, you. And I said to her, look, I love health and I love food and what do I do with this? And she said, Laurann, I think you want to be a nutritionist. And so I think I was about the age of 13, 14 years old when that decision was made. So the blinkers went on. Subjects were chosen. I think I applied for England. I didn't even tell my parents. I filled out the UCAS form to go over to England to study. Just the degree I wanted was over there. They didn't quite have the human nutrition one I wanted there at the time. So off I went to Nottingham and I did my degree in human nutrition there. And then I worked in acute care over there for a little while, and I realised, hang on a second now, I'm seeing things when they're too late. The end stage of things. I won't get too much into that side of things, but I'm there going, there's nothing I can do at this stage when it's too late. Then I realized I need to be in a preventative place. I have to be in a place where I can help to educate people, inform people, and be in the preventative nutrition space. So I came back to Ireland and I actually started whilst working in food manufacture at the time, would you believe? I saw the other side. I started my nutrition consultancy business, starting small, doing little gigs, and then slowly built it. And I realized I was trying to figure out, how can I reach more people? So I did a master's in public health, nutrition and UCD. So since then I solely went out my nutrition consultancy business. I definitely didn't want to be working in food manufacture, that's for sure. But it was very interesting to see the other side. We can definitely talk about that at another stage. So I do one-to-one nutrition consultations, food sensitivity testing, and a lot of talks, a lot of workshops. And I recently just did another postgrad, the internal student in teaching further education. So I am also a qualified teacher. So again, I can go into the likes of further education institutes, ETBs, and teach at a wider level. I have done a little bit of that already, but for me, it's really all about the important thing for me. And I think feels like it's almost my goal in life. My reason, my why is nutrition education.
Wow.
So, that's my passion. I love it. Yeah.
Laurann, I think that is one of the best whistle-stop tours I've heard of anyone's career path. Well done. You grew up on a farm in Tipperary. Where in Tipperary were you?
I did. In between Care and Clonmel. So we were very much mostly tillage based. And my dad had a farm in Poland as well and other things. So he was quite innovative in terms of research and crops and that sort of thing. So I think through osmosis, you slowly start absorbing it. You'd be sitting on the tractors, you're watching the combine, you're sometimes, I wouldn't say driving the tractor, not very well now, just hopping on for a little spin and getting back off again. But you do start realizing and appreciating when people eat their bread and they pick it off the shelf in the supermarket, they don't know what's involved on the other side, how that got there. If you ask a lot of people who, young kids or people who may not be so educated, they might like, where does bread come from? When they might go to the shelf. Where did blueberries come from? Oh, the box inside the supermarket. But it's understanding food where it comes from. But I take it to another level in the real medicinal side of foods, those valuable vitamins and minerals. And, food can be so healing if you do understand it more deeply.
So tell me, the farm, is farming an easy life?
I think in terms of farming, if you're farming on a larger scale, it may be more easier. But I have to say, I have a massive appreciation for all farmers out there, no matter what type of farming that you do, because at the end of the day, you're depending on the weather and the economy. But I think it's quite rewarding when you reap that soil and you get your yield. And I remember my dad going off to the grain factory with his grain and going off to the sugar beet factory back in the day before they closed down. And when you sow your seeds, and if you're a farmer, and I think you're almost born to be, I think there's so much appreciation for it. So I think it's definitely worth it if you're born to do it.
And when you live in a farm household, effectively it's a mini business. Would you get a sense of, oh no, the weather is bad, that's going to affect the family income, or it's a good season? Would you feel that within the house, watching your mum and dad and listening to the conversations and that kind of thing? Again,
Dad was very proactive. Almost. So it's funny because the other farmers just wait until Tony O'Reilly, he went off and he sowed his crop. Oh, we better sow it. Oh, wait until Dad starts harvesting. Oh, we better do the harvesting. So he was very much ahead of things as much as possible. He'd know, oh, okay, we need to harvest the crop today because there's rain coming in 2 days. So he was very proactive in the sense of getting ahead of it. Thankfully, my dad's passed now actually, but thankfully there wasn't too much issues with global warming back in the day when we were farming.
Is your dad long gone, is he?
8 years.
My dad has gone about 6 years. It's a big event in your life, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know what? I think a lot of him is in me, in the drive and the keeping going and the motivation and the working hard. And I think many of the generations that our father's generations, that was a work ethic that, it's unique to them. Back in those days, that level of work and the work ethic was unheard of these days,
Yeah. And I presume in your case, he didn't have to talk to you about it. You could just witness it every day. You saw him doing it.
I witnessed it. Yeah. It was inspirational in a way. Definitely.
Yeah, fantastic. Was your mum involved in the farm?
No, she wasn't.
Okay. She had more sense, did she?
Yeah, no, she had her own things going on.
Okay.
In terms of her own businesses and things. Yeah.
Cool. Your own sickness, when did that occur? When did people realise that our beautiful daughter, Laurann, wasn't very well? How did all that happen?
To be honest with you, how it came about was people were like, God, Laurann's quite pale. She's pale. And my mum was kind of there going, few people have said that now. We should probably bring it to the doctor. So when we went to, was our Dr. Quirk inside in Clonmel, actually, and I think he's passed since. So thank you for saving my life. So he did a blood test with me, and he was kind of there going, I think you need to go down to Cork and get a diagnosis done, because my white blood cell count was not healthy. So again, they did the diagnosis then in the Mercy Hospital in Cork. Again, the staff were just phenomenal. It is a situation with leukemia where the white blood cell count is down. That's your immune system, that you do have to go into isolation and that sort of thing. But I have to say, the experience for a young child going through that, the staff and people that surround you at the time make a huge impact on you. And the support that you have at the time from that staff can make all the difference, I think, for a young child that age.
How many years were you sick, Laurann?
To be honest, it seems a bit of a blur. It seems like it happened to another person, to be honest with you. It's like another lifetime ago almost. But I think it was a couple of years. And then I had to get homeschooled initially when I came out of the hospital. So again, yeah, I didn't feel that I was behind in any way. In fact, I got back into senior infants, and my reading level was the level of a 5th class person. So I don't think I missed anything, but that could be down to, again, my homeschooling. And again, I suppose my parents keeping me on top of everything to make sure that I didn't fall behind. So I was sick as well. But again, I was only probably 5. I don't think it was even 2 years. I think it was I maybe 6, so maybe a year and a half. Was
that a lot of time in hospital?
It was a lot of time in hospital. Yeah. So again, you need to be in isolation. And then you need to, suppose there was chemo, there was radiation, there was blood transfusions and all the bits and pieces. So it was. And then, but again, it's something that's kind of normal then after a little while for you.
That must have been very scary for a little 6-year-old at the time. And I presume lonely as well, if you were in isolation and your folks are up in Clonmel. I presume they weren't by your bedside all of the time.
Somehow I always seem to have family with me. I remember my brother, he's 10 years older than me, and I had my own room, so I had 2 beds in the room, so they could actually, family members could stay, of course, if they want. But I remember my tall brother with his legs dangling out the side of the bed. So I didn't know. I remember having, between the staff, the nurses, and my family, I never really remember feeling alone.
Okay. Did that experience change you?
Absolutely. I mean, looking back, I'm there going, I am so lucky to be alive. So lucky to be alive. I really am. I suppose, look, you've got a 50-50 chance of survival, so you can't get rid of me. And then it does kind of make you appreciate life that little bit more, going, do you know what, I got the benefit of the 50% alive. And I think when my dad passed away again, it's very much going, do you know what, this life is very fragile. And I think that anything can change in an instant, and that you really do need to take the bull by the horns, appreciate every single minute of your life, because you don't know when anything can change. So, I think it does definitely give you more of an appreciation for life. And look, it was probably, I feel maybe it was fate that was meant to happen to bring me to the person that I am now as a nutritionist, and I suppose I am who I am as a person.
Because of your condition, was diet a big part of it then, building you up again? And was there a big focus on food? Is that what triggered that interest in diet and nutrition for you?
Be honest with you, it was very much hospital food that I had. This is funny. I remember I was doing through chemo at the time, and I had a cottage pie in the hospital at the same time as watching Pink Panther, and I wasn't well. And for many years, and even to this day, if I hear the Pink Panther song, it actually makes me feel unwell. And I'm back eating cottage pie again. But it's almost a conditioning that if I actually can't hear that song, because it actually makes me feel unwell. But it was, that kind of way. So I think very much at the time it was get any nutrition that you can into her, really, But looking back, I now realise the importance of nutrition, both in the prevention of illness, but also in assisting in the healing of illnesses of any kind as well.
Okay. And tell me, now you obviously pursued a career in nutrition, but did you feed your own curiosity and information about it before you took on any course? Like, were you the one investigating ingredients and the benefits of this food versus another? Did you have that natural curiosity, or how did that come about in you?
Like, again, I was maybe about 13 years old or so, and I was slowly kind of going, I didn't understand it like I do now, but obviously I'm kind of there going, health, nutrition, or health and food. There was these two things that I'm really interested in. And there's got to be a way to keep you healthy. And then I actually took my career guidance teacher to stick the two together and go, you do know that there's a career called nutritionist. There's a career in nutrition that you can go down, binds the two of these. And it was after that then that I suppose my world opened up in terms of the possibilities.
So the first course you took was in the UK. It was in Nottingham. Tell me about that course and what you learned.
Yeah, it actually was a fantastic course. So it was a human nutrition course. So do you know what? It really does open up. It opened up my eyes even more in the terms of I literally studied every ology you can imagine, from biology, physiology, endocrinology, which is your hormonal system, was your breathing systems, your brain. So we studied psychology, because there's the whole psychology aspect of eating, but then how our emotions affect our eating and how to deal with even behavioral change strategies for people, and genetics. And actually there's a really interesting, not to go too far down the path, but there's a really interesting aspect to genetics called nutrigenomics. So it's the effect of nutrition on our genes, epigenetics, what you eat when you're pregnant, how that affects the child and their genetics. And God, I just dove in and it was just phenomenal. And then into the biochemistry of food itself and the structures of it and how it creates, and then how the body makes energy and utilizes energy. And then obviously we went into the disease prevention side of things, or the diseases and the prevention of these, and how nutrition can be a tool with this as well.
I presume when you're in the middle of that course, that when you're learning all of this, you must change your own eating habits and all that kind of thing.
Absolutely. I think it opens up your eyes, and in a way myself, I'm kind of there, I guinea pig myself with certain things. I'll go, I wonder if I put these two things together, or if I get an ache or a pain, well, I say, if I take these anti-inflammatory spices, I wonder, and I'm like, okay, so actually that eased the pain and I didn't have to go off taking anti-inflammatory medication. So I'm kind of there going, I try and test things with myself. And often I try to, even before recommending them to clients, I often might have taken some of the supplements myself, and I go, look, I can vouch for this. I know that this works. So, yeah.
What was the biggest thing you learned at that stage? Or what was the biggest change you made yourself and how you ate? Just
in terms of even, I suppose the sugar side of things, huge. The effect of sugar on the body and regulating, and even the different factors that affect illness then as well. So again, the importance of weight maintenance, the importance of exercise, the importance of nutrition. So it may not even have been nutrition on its own. It could even be the lifestyle factors that also affect nutrition, and how all of those combined are important for your overall health as well.
So tell me, around that time, Laurann, would you have been the most annoying family member or the most annoying friend to have? Because every time you'd go and pick up something or start eating it, Laurann was jumping in, don't eat that, you shouldn't be eating this is what you should be taking. Is it, oh my God, let me enjoy my burger or whatever? That's
a really good question. To be honest with you, number one, I try to inspire rather than instruct people what to do. And if they ask me, and often it's the case, you'd be at home and you could have been telling your parents, oh, this is really good for that, or you really should be taking this supplement. They're not going to listen to you because they're your own daughter. And then they might go, your Paddy down the road told me I need to be taking this, and I've been telling that for 10 years. But you're not going to listen to me, So it's so true. And if they need often what is called an external cue, which is someone on the outside to tell them. So I could know everything in the whole world, and you know what, I'm still learning and I don't about nutrition. And I think for your very close family members, your very close friends, they're going to need someone on the outside who isn't so close to them to sometimes say, I think you need to change this, or it might be a good idea to take that. So the external cue can sometimes be important there.
So taking that job then in food manufacturing once you'd done your college degree, was that a big eye-opener, was it?
Yes. Thankfully, that company is no longer, that part of that company is no longer where I used to work. So I'm free to say things. But do you know what? I was a quality controller and nutritionist inside there. It was quite an interesting role. It was very busy, but I really got to see deeply what happens in a food manufacturing plant. So it was my job to assess the raw ingredients coming in, the whole new product development and the production process, to taste the food. So I had to eat the food as well. It was nice eating cottage pie at 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it's maybe how I desensitized from my cottage pie.
Along with the Pink Panther music.
Along the pink, oh God, please. So it was horrific enough. But again, even bringing in new allergen control systems, legislations and stuff. And then the production line itself. So we had to do checks on the production line from a sanitation, but also quality perspective as well, safety perspective, to the packaging side, and everything to the very, very end. I was literally running around like a fly around the place. So yeah, it was very busy, and I'd say I burned, if I had a fitness tracker on me, I'd have burned a fair few steps. However, I got a real insight into what ingredients are going into the food. That was my big takeaway of that. And look, without going into it too deeply, because I could probably spend 10 hours on here talking to you about it. The price of the product that you purchase in the supermarket is reflective of the quality of the ingredients that are in that product. So if you're buying cottage pie, here we are again, or a lasagna, and it's a euro or €1.50, and they're making a profit of it, that is reflective of the quality of the ingredients in the products. Yeah.
No, I'm just going to say I've got a really great friend. He's the general manager of the Kinsale Bay Food Company, and they make cottage pies. And I know the pressure they're under, particularly the last year or so with the price of ingredients going up. All of their produce is gluten-free. I know the difficulty and the precision that's required to make what they make. He doesn't compromise on ingredients. But the other thing I know from him is that battle he has all of the time with the supermarkets around the pricing of the products, where the prices go up. He's then having to negotiate a price increase with them, and they're just refusing. And he then has to make a choice. Do I continue to make this cottage pie or this soup or this fish pie at a loss? Do I compromise the ingredients and the quality of what's in it? Or do I just stop producing that particular item altogether? Or I dig in and just say, I'm going to stick to my guns. We have to have a price increase. I had a guy in the podcast a few years ago, Joe McNamee. He's a guy I was actually in school with. And he's passionate about food and the quality of food. He kept on saying to me during the course of that conversation that food in Ireland is too cheap, which I thought was unusual. What he meant was that if you need to eat good food, you need to pay for it. Would you be of the same view?
You hit off a good few points there now. So I can vouch the Kinsale Food Company are actually good quality products. So I will support your friend on that. In terms of acquiring good quality food in Ireland, being a farmer's daughter, again, I'd be a big supporter of the Quality Irish stamp, the Food Safety Authority of Ireland, and Board BIA, should I say, the Quality Irish stamp thing on food, particularly on your meats. That way you're guaranteed to get good quality Irish meat. That's the first thing that you need to look out for when you're purchasing good quality foods in Ireland, particularly your meats, because a lot of them can be imported, is to look out for that quality Irish stamp on your foods. Like, okay, I think perhaps food, thankfully for us, purchasing it from the supermarket is quite affordable. For the farmer, it may not be profitable on a smaller scale, on a larger scale, more so. So unfortunately, there's not much power that we have as, I suppose, farmers in terms of that then as well. That's a battle going on with the two of those. But for people trying to go into the supermarket and trying to eat healthy and trying to get good quality food, back to quality Irish again. And again, it's my big thing is buying in batch and meal planning. Okay, so obviously the economies of scale, if you buy the bigger bag of rice, if you buy the bigger box of or inside in your butchers, even a larger volume, you'll get a deal. Is it 5 chicken fillets for X amount? You will get deals in your butchers. They do tend to have, again, look for the good quality, the corn-fed chicken in the supermarket as well. So buy in batch, cook in batch, and then you'll find, and even cook your vegetables up. Bring home your vegetables, cook them, keep them in the fridge for the next couple of days. And if you're not going to have them within the 2 or 3 days, pop them into the freezer. That will actually keep the nutrient value of your vegetables to save them going off inside in the cupboard. And you find in a bag of carrots a week later and they haven't been touched. So cook them up in advance and freeze them. And then at least that way, then from a food preservation perspective, nutrient preservation perspective, and a food waste perspective, you've got they're frozen and preserved, but also from an ease of life perspective. How amazing if you do a bit of meal prep on a Sunday and then you've got your meals done for the week, coming home after a busy day, for whatever, everyone's days are busy in their own way. But having the dinners done, if it's only for yourself or if it's for your family, it just makes your week go so much more seamless. But also, like again, coming back to it, saves the money. If you're really on a tight budget, don't fear the reduced to clear. You'd be surprised if you go into the reduced to clear section. Different supermarkets have them on different days, but let's say it's a Monday. You go into your reduced to clear section. That food could be good for that day. You can cook it in. If that is the case, if you're on a really tight budget, that food could be good for that day. So don't fear the reduced to clear. And then if you're really on a tight budget again, or even if you're not, frozen veggies aren't all that bad either. Like we ran a nutrition analysis on fresh versus frozen versus cooked versus boiled versus steamed, and ran analysis on the nutrient value of the food. There isn't, and actually, if you catch it, very, very similar to buying your vegetables, cooking it and freezing it, if they catch those vegetables at source and freeze them, flash freeze them as soon as possible afterwards, they've captured the nutrients of those vegetables. So frozen vegetables are not a bad option at all. Good quality frozen vegetables. It is possible to eat healthy, but use those tricks, meal plan, have your shopping list ready then as well, because a lot of people go shopping, and I'm sure we're all guilty of it. Number one, being hungry, but number two, with no list. And then you fall into the marketing psychology of a supermarket, which is a whole other topic altogether. The next thing you're buying 3 packets of biscuits because they're on deal for X this, and they're all in front of your face. But actually, it's all marketing psychology, and you end up coming home with bags of stuff that you hadn't intended on buying, all because they're playing with your mind when you go into the supermarket then as well, in terms of product placement, colours, smells, all that sort of stuff. So write your list in advance, stick to the list, and it will be a benefit to you.
Yeah, I grew up in a waste not, want not mentality household. They came from my mum. My mum, she's 89, thanks be to God. She's good and healthy and everything else. Probably ate well. She does eat well, to be fair to her. But they grew up in the war or ration time, so my God almighty, if something went on the plate, you pretty much did eat it. And to this day, it absolutely kills me when exactly that situation that you've spoken about, buying too many things, putting them in the fridge, there isn't enough room, you put things to the back, you forget about them, and then you end up throwing them out a week later. I hate it. It's one of my pet hates. So with you, Laurann, the itch to start helping people and not to be doing the big food manufacturing thing. Going from an idea and maybe doing a little bit of help here and there with the odd person and maybe the odd talk here and there, that decision to go all in, out on my own, without the comfort of a pay packet from the big multinational, was that difficult?
I knew I had a mission. Obviously, like, I have a master's in public health, and I've lived in the UK, and obviously I've lived and I'm from Ireland. I got to see the contrast of the two healthcare systems, and I got to the primary healthcare system. So before you go to hospital, I suppose catching it in advance, getting ahead of the illness really is really, really good in England, in the sense of, because it's free to go to the doctor. So a lot of people can get diagnosed earlier. Whereas in Ireland, they probably would spend the money on it could be their week's shopping to go to the doctor, so, or a jumper for their child for school. So sometimes in Ireland, things don't get caught as soon as they could have been, if they had got diagnosed sooner. Again, that glimpse of what I saw in acute care of, I need to not let people get this far. I need to try educate people in a preventative manner. So I came back to Ireland, and then I realized that I had people come up to me. I'm diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, 5 years. What's a carbohydrate? This is after I started my business. Or, I'm diagnosed with celiac disease. Can I have a potato? And I've since worked with the Celiac Society as well. And I'm just there going, these people need help. These people not only need help, but they need accessible help. So I don't want people to have to go on a waiting list to see me. I'm going to have to go full out on my own and go, look, if you need me, here I am, sort of thing. So people can find me easily, make an appointment with me easily, and get the help that they need as soon as they possibly can. And again, doing the talks and workshops, and even I've worked with schools and kids and sports people and everything you can imagine. Try get to them. And I've rolled out health promotion programs for preschool, so teach them really young. So to get that message out as seamlessly to as large a number of people as possible, as soon as possible, really. So I had to, and I'd never look back.
Just listening to you, Laurann, it sounds to me that there's huge lack of knowledge out there. And we eat every day of our lives. Of course, we have to. It sounds to me like a life skill. And you mentioned school. I'm thinking back to my own school days, and we were forced to learn Latin for a few classes a week, from first year through to junior cert. I think, my God, wouldn't have been an awful lot better to learn about food. That is a life skill that kids should be taught. So tell me, what are the typical problems that you would come across that are caused by poor diet and poor nutrition? And in many cases, the person doesn't even realize it, and they're just running to the chemist or going for doctor's appointments, but the source of it was food the whole time. Are there typical things? Are there some typical problems that you will come across?
I suppose, look, there is the cost of living crisis going on that we can't deny, and everyone's trying to, and also people are really busy, so there's a little combination of that people kind of scrambling to try and get as cheap meals as possible as quickly as possible. So there's this whole new trend of convenience foods and fast foods, and that then goes down the line of, oh, sure, I'll just get a takeaway, or I'll just get, and there's all of the apps. Like I'm living, thankfully I was living back in Tipperary. You had to drive to the nearest restaurant, or you had to go to the supermarket to get your food. There actually wasn't delivery services everywhere I was living at the time, which was a great thing, because it's kind of there going, look, I'm driving all the way to the restaurant, I might as well go to the supermarket and pick up the food and cook it. Whereas now I'm living in Dublin, and I have like 4 different food apps that, like, within 20 minutes, I would have food delivered to my door, and I don't even have to get off my chair. Or I'd probably get 20 steps in going to the door to pick up the delivery. So I kid you not. Whereas before we had to, in prehistoric times, not even prehistoric times, back when my dad's times, we had to, pick the crops and harvest the food and chop up the food and put it on the plate. Whereas now it's gone. People are getting very sedentary, and they're getting a little bit, so we're not, whilst we might be taking in as much calories as we need as a human, we're not using as much energy as much anymore. So there is a huge issue in terms of, obesity and people being overweight. Now, don't get me wrong, people are busy and I totally understand it, and they're trying to find the time to eat healthy and do the shopping and that sort of thing. Again, that comes back to meal planning, but the consequences of carrying that extra bit of weight, we're leading it to high blood pressure, increases in type 2 diabetes, increases in heart-related conditions and that sort of thing there as well. So I think, again, it comes down to education. How can I eat healthy on a budget? How can I save time? And have my meals prepped so that when I am under pressure, I've got my snacks and my meals and everything in the fridge and I've got no excuse. And one of my biggest tricks is, if it's not there, you can't have it. Control your environment. You're in control of the foods that you bring into your house. And very much so, I had some of your team here yesterday with me actually doing some training. And I was like, going, oh, Lord God, I've no biscuits in the house because I'll eat them. I better put something together for them. So it's very much, and then you're looking at the fridge going, you know, I'd love some chocolate and I didn't buy any because I'd eat it. So I'm going to have a yogurt and some fruit instead. You just do it, you know? So again, that I think in terms of eating probably the same food that we normally have and using less energy is a huge thing then as well. And then I think people can go back to the marketing of things. We have standards in Ireland in terms of protecting our health, in terms of food safety and quality. Thankfully, down to the Food Safety Authority of Ireland. We're really lucky in Europe to have those standards in terms of our food. But the food production companies will push it to the limit in terms of what they can give us. In terms of marketing and that sort of thing, again, I think people need to be educated on how food is marketed to you. And just because you mentioned the protein bars, I think there a little while ago, high protein doesn't always mean it's good for you. It might be high in protein because it's high in energy, and some of that energy will be made of protein. It does not mean it's healthy for you. But there's this whole trend of, oh, high protein is healthy, and but there's also 500 calories in that protein bar. So doesn't necessarily mean healthy. So a little bit of education as to how food is marketed could be quite helpful then as well.
I was on your website, which is nutritionbylaurann.ie, and as well as the services that you offer, I noticed a lot of very interesting blog posts by you about different situations and different scenarios where food and diet were very relevant. And yeah, I was quite surprised to read some of them. You know, there was a post about the health of your bones. And yeah, maybe I should have connected those things. I saw another post about migraines. And I thought, okay, I would never have connected that with food. Yeah, I saw another post then about, obviously this was a famous one about your menstruation.
I say everything is connected. So I'm currently in the middle of putting together and launching my podcast called The Nutrition Connection. So watch this space. And it is about how everything is connected. Not everything, but most of the things going on in our bodies and our lives, there is a huge aspect of it that can be impacted by nutrition. Let's look at sleep. If you have too much caffeine throughout the day, that can cause blockage of a hormone that prepares you for sleep. Food is your fuel and sleep is your battery. If you don't sleep properly, what are you going to do the following day? You're going to end up looking for stimulants. You're going to be looking for sugar. You're going to be looking for caffeine. You're going to be looking for ways to keep you awake because you're really tired and you haven't slept properly. And then when it comes to bedtime, you're so stimulated that you can't sleep properly. And the cycle starts all over again. But also, if we're not sleeping properly, we can't think properly. It affects our mood. We might be snappy at people. It affects our relationships. And there's a web that goes out. But if you looked after your nutrition and you slept properly, you perform better at work, you might have a better mood, be able to take on life that little bit better. So it just goes to show how there's a catapult effect. And that little thing was just the nutrition and it affecting sleep. And that's a snippet of how nutrition can affect our overall.
If you are feeling a bit flaked out because maybe work is full on, you had to work late on a project, there was just no choice, the following day you're trying to perform but your battery is down as low as anything, what's the best thing to do to get you through that day?
Would this be a scenario where you haven't slept enough hours the night
Yeah,
before?
you haven't slept,
Yeah.
or maybe you just didn't rest enough, because you just worked too late. You're finding it hard going, and you don't have the energy level that you need to get through the day. You need some sort of stimulant, but you don't want to be a vicious cycle.
Okay.
From a diet point of view, is there a better solution to the strong cups of coffee?
So you're probably speaking of a scenario that a lot of people are in. This is probably somebody like, oh my God, this is so me right now. So this is a really valid point to address, like the real practical, regular person who, I don't know, maybe even a new baby in the house. Maybe this is exactly you right now. So for example, one of the things, so a little bit of caffeine is okay. I've had 2 cups of coffee today. I'm also human. So a little bit of caffeine is okay. And in fact, I like my coffee in the morning. So the upper limit of caffeine, for example, is 400 milligrams. That's equivalent to maybe 4 shots of coffee. Okay. So any more than that, and it takes about 5 to 6 hours for caffeine to leave your system, just in and around. Now, there can be more caffeine in certain caffeinated products as well, or in your stronger coffees in the restaurants. So just to be aware of that. But just in a nutshell, 4 shots of coffee is the upper limit. Some people are more sensitive as well. So if you go, make sure that you don't exceed that. So if you go into a coffee shop, there could be 2 shots in a small, 3 shots in a medium, 4 shots in a large. You've got your large Costa Americano and you are climbing the walls with it. You have probably exceeded your caffeine thing. What actually happens with caffeine, for example, is there's a hormone called adenosine that increases as the day goes on to prepare you for sleep, along with melatonin, which arises in response to darkness. What caffeine does, it starts to build a wall, and the adenosine starts building up behind the wall, and the caffeine's saying, I'm not letting you sleep. No, you're not increasing. So the higher that wall is, the harder it's going to be to sleep, and actually might end up having a caffeine crash if you have too much caffeine. You fall off the caffeine cliff. So what you want to try to do is, keep that wall as low as possible. So that's why it's important to stay within your caffeine limit. And then what I would do, no more than your 4 shots. So if you do like your coffee, ask for 1 shot Americano or a 1 shot cappuccino inside in the coffee shop, and disperse it throughout those hours. And then what I actually do then is I have a caffeine curfew. So what I do is I know my caffeine curfew is 3:30 p.m. I drink no caffeine products whatsoever after 3:30 p.m. If I want to have my caffeine, if I want to have my 2 cups, if I want to have my caffeine, I have it before 3:30 p.m. And that way then it won't impact my sleep, and it'll give my body the chance to clear the caffeine out of its system. So I can go into my real restorative stage 3 sleep. What you might essentially be in is a bit of jet lag if you haven't had enough sleep the night before. So that's the first thing. The natural instinct is you're going to want to reach for sugar foods. It's the worst possible thing that you can do. So you want to try even get whole grain foods, brown breads, brown pasta, brown rice, oats, whole grain foods in. That'll be slow and steady sugar into your body. So you won't end up crashing and craving more sugar, get you off the sugar roller coaster. So that will sustain your blood sugars for that little bit longer throughout the day then as well. So caffeine's under control, the sugar's under control, and you're not on the roller coaster of either of them. So at least then, there are 2 things you can do. At least then, by the time bedtime comes, you won't be full of stimulants, and you have a better chance of getting to sleep, because those stimulants can also increase your heart rate, your anxiety. And actually, if you're going through a stressful time and you're trying to get to sleep and you're full of stimulants, it's not going to help the matter. So again, even the caffeine and the sugar, if you can regulate the 2 of those and get a good night's sleep. If you need to nap, I love the Matthew Walker book, Why We Sleep. A lot of people think sleeping is weak. Sleep is for the weak. You have to be working all the time. You have to be burning out. You have to be pushing yourself. Apparently, some of the most intelligent people in the world have naps. I think Winston Churchill took a nap before making a really important political decision. There's nothing wrong with a nap. Sometimes if I have consumed a lot of information, I've been in a really heavy meeting, or my brain's I need to go for a nap because I need to reset my brain. I need that information to go into my brain, go into my little filing cabinets in my brain. And when I wake back up, I can start again. There's nothing wrong with a nap. They say an hour and a half is the optimum nap. between 20 minutes and an hour and a half is the optimum nap there is. If you can find the time in the day and take a nap, if you're really run down, it can do you the world of good.
So don't stimulate yourself too much. Allow your body to rest peacefully when you need to have a little snooze at night. Or, as you say, if you can cheat the system and get half an hour or an hour in there, that could be the best stimulant of all. In terms of the winter, and I'm not sure about you, but I know the last few couple of days have been that bit colder. I find myself changing what I'm eating. Is it okay for us to start eating a little bit different? I find during the winter you end up putting on a bit of weight because you're not eating salads, you want kind of big, warm, hearty things. Any advice you would give from a diet and a nutrition point of view for the cold season that we're heading into?
It's natural for our eating habits to change during the winter months. A lot of that could be from a comforting perspective then as well, because I think as the days get darker and I suppose the nights are longer in a way, it does have a huge impact on our mood and our food choices then as well. So as the darker days, I mentioned the hormone melatonin, as the days get darker, we produce more melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. So it kind of makes us a little bit more sleepy. Our lack of daylight is also linked to a reduction in serotonin, which is our mood, our happy chemical, if that makes sense then as well. So we need to go, okay, my serotonin's going down. I'm feeling a little bit more sleepy. You might be looking for foods to comfort then as well. And also, as the day, the sunshine is responsible for the production of vitamin D in our body. And as we have less sunlight, we're producing less vitamin D then as well. And vitamin D is directly correlated with the production of serotonin, which is our happy chemical. So there's a lot of reasons why we're feeling a little lower in the winter. Might need a little bit more, a little bit more comfort. Some people do choose food in terms of that then as well. So it is completely normal. But I suppose we don't necessarily have to turn directly to the comfort foods or eating more sugary foods to bring us comfort then as well. We can look at healthier nutrition options to try and combat that low mood and get those mood regulating chemicals up then as well. So again, is reducing down the sugar. Try avoid getting on the sugar roller coaster, avoiding the processed foods. I've seen the other side. There is no nutritional value in them. They're not going to be of any benefit to you. There's going to be empty calories. You're better off eating good, nutritious food full of nutrients then as well. Having the omega-3 fatty acids, your fish oils, flaxseed, chia seed. Your fish oils, you get those from your oily fish, such as salmon, mackerel, sardines. And again, I put chia seed and flaxseed into my yogurts. I say every meal is an opportunity to nourish. I always pull out that line anywhere I can. So I add, if I'm putting a yogurt together, I'll put flaxseed and chia seed in there, and I'm putting in omegas into my yogurt. Really good for the brain. Brain loves fatty acids, the good healthy fats then as well. Would you believe bananas actually contain a compound called tryptophan, which helps you make serotonin? Little innocent bananas. I put up a slide, I was doing a talk, and I literally put up a slide with a banana on it. And I was like, I bet you didn't think a banana would get a whole slide today. And they have. Dark chocolate can help you produce serotonin. So a happy chemical there as well. And just even in terms of, I know chocolate isn't bad for you. It's the milk chocolate now, but the dark chocolate's good for you. And you can't really eat too much of it because you wouldn't feel well. And then just vitamins, like hydration is also important then as well. But vitamins that you can take. Okay, so vitamin D helps you make serotonin. And we're not making vitamin D as much because we don't have as much exposure to the sunlight. Take a vitamin D supplement. In fact, it's recommended that the whole Irish population takes a vitamin D supplement all year round because we don't have a huge amount of sun. And to be honest, most of us are working inside during the sunlight vitamin D making hours anyway. So it's been recommended that the whole Irish population takes a vitamin D supplement. Vitamin D3 is the recommended one. That's the one we want our body to be able to make. If you're going through stress, you need an extra bit of support. Vitamin B complex supplement, really good, help you make energy. It'll help you make energy, but also helps to regulate the nervous system. So really good B complex supplement. And if you have issues sleeping, if you've got the restless legs or you can't get to sleep or you're getting, magnesium has been nicknamed nature's natural sedative. So a little magnesium supplement, a particular one called magnesium glycinate, is there's loads of types of magnesium, but magnesium glycinate has been shown to help improve sleep. We mentioned the migraines earlier. It's the good one for the migraines there as well. So if you take that about 30 minutes before bed, that can help with your sleep then as well. So even those 3 vitamins. And if you don't like fish, throw in the fish oil, an omega-3 supplement then as well. Even those supplements going into the winter, along with your bananas and your dark chocolate, can make a huge difference.
Listen to you, Laurann. I think I'm after realizing that I know so little about everything that you're talking about. I'd say I haven't taken any of those supplements in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Just go to the supermarket, buy my food, and totally and utterly oblivious as to those minerals and what I should be taking and what I shouldn't. So in terms of getting help from Laurann and engaging with your services, how can I go about it and what's on offer? So again, I suppose the range of services that I provide would be one-to-one nutrition consultations. I have clinics throughout Tipperary, Kildare, Dublin and online. I need to clone myself now, but I will eventually. So again, on my website then shows my list of services then, which include the one-to-ones, and I'm doing a lot of blood-based food sensitivity testing then as well. So again, if you have digestive-related issues, brain fog, if you're just feeling a little bit run down, if you're having energy issues, again, it could be worth investigating then as well. And then I do a lot of talks and workshops then as well, a lot of corporate ones, but I do them across various different settings. I was in a cancer support centre last week doing a talk there. I do a range of talks, anything from energy, sleep, resilience, meal planning, anything. And I tailor them to each client then as well. So again, my website is nutritionbylaurann.ie, and then my social media, so my Instagram and Facebook are at nutritionbylaurann. And do you work with corporates as well? People who want to look after their teams?
Yeah. I work very closely with corporates. I do on-site and online, one-to-one, back-to-back, one-to-one clinics and workshops as well. Or sometimes I do a combination. I might do a talk and then the rest of the day's workshops within corporates then as well.
Okay. Tell me, what's happiness to you?
Happiness. I think happiness is health and freedom. But actually, I think you can get a lot of freedom through your health. I think I call it nutritional click. When you're eating the right foods and you're getting enough sleep and you're just feeling real good, I think there's so much freedom in being healthy. But I think it's a matter of getting all of the puzzle pieces to fit together. Eating the right foods, getting enough sleep, getting your physical activity in, and getting the balance right. I think you get a lot of freedom in feeling good and healthy from that.
Now, it is the Win Happy podcast, so winning is part of it. What are your objectives? What would you like to achieve? What does winning look like for you?
To be honest with you, I feel quite fortunate to be in the position that I'm able to reach as many people as I possibly can. I'm not very much a pinnacle at the moment where I am achieving that. So I'm very happy to be where I am. And again, just doing more of what I love. I have a few irons in the fire and a few projects coming down the pipeline. So just to extend on that. So again, just reaching those few goals that are pretty much in the pipeline as well.
Cool. Now, in a lot of what I hear you talking about, I hear your dad and those early lessons that you learned from him. So the very last question I'd like to ask you on the podcast is, can you recall a favourite memory of you and your dad?
I think, let me think of memories with me and Dad. It's very much, we used to go off on our little drives. I'd jump in the Jeep beside him. We'd go off on our little drives. Now, Dad wasn't a man of many words, But you just knew you were kind of his little girl, and he'd bring you for drives along the farm and that sort of thing there as well. And when he did speak, he was still giving you the good advice and that sort of thing there as well. So he'd bring you off for your little drives and you'd have your little chats and that sort of thing there as well. And do you know what? It's as simple as sitting down and having a cup of tea I still have my Barry's in my apartment here in Dublin. Every time I pull out a Barry's tea bag, I think of Dad. And it's as simple as when I'm having a cup of Barry's tea, I'm having it with my father.
Fantastic. And we'll avoid the Pink Panther music.
So true to this day, I swear to God.
Laurann, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you would like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.